Okay.
Right.
The books that did not stand the test of time.
And I will just cover those real quick here because I already kind of went on a tirade about them, and that's Flatland and 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Both of these were written in the late
1800s.
Yeah.
So just, they didn't stand the test of time. Outdated cultural ideas that were probably even bigoted at the time. And then just, in a good sense, the common person knows a lot of what this book's already trying to teach.
You also have this. Is this also did not stand the test of time?
Did.
Oh, did stand. Okay. So, the books that did stand the test of time. Frankenstein, number 51 on the list. Right there.
We are. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. You have to give this one a little bit of leeway because Dr. Frankenstein, he discovers the secrets of life just by going to university. Mm-hmm. But outside of that, this is not about the science. This is about how we make our own demons and how our own ego can be our worst enemy. Definitely holds up to today, just within the human concepts that this is written about. Mary Shelley was obviously a very, very, very smart lady and could write a very entertaining narrative that even holds up to today.
Also, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
I read this one just the other day, and it was really, really good. This one, strangely, kind of became more relevant today with internet culture and internet anonymity. This is actually one of the most well-known spoilers in all of literature. In reading this story, you aren't supposed to know that Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde are the same person until near the end of the story. But it is strangely very, very, can be very much correlated with today and how people take on a different persona than who they are in real life on the internet. And also coming into paralleling addiction, which I think a lot of people struggle with today, with it being media or drugs or whatever.
Do you think that Fight Club took a lot of inspiration from
I've only seen the movie Fight Club, and
because you have that situation,
because it's from the perspective of I forget what Tyler Durden's other
Edward Norton.
Edward Norton's character. It was more from his perspective. That story was was actually entirely from the perspective of Dr. Jekyll's friends and his relations.
Okay, so looking in.
Mm-hmm. Looking at him from the outside. Yes.
Okay. Very cool. And that was number 93 on your list. Mm-hmm. War of the Worlds, number 21 on the list, which all of these were written in the 1800s.
Yes, this was a very, very entertaining alien invasion story, and it actually took me by surprise because when I was reading through this, I'm like, why does he keep calling cars carriages? And then all of a sudden it comes, oh, and then a motor car passed by. And I flip to the end and I'm like, oh my God, 1890? So I'm like, oh, I feel foolish now. But it's a very, very interesting take on an alien invasion at that time of human culture and technology. So very, very fascinating and still holds up to today.
And Brave New World, number 17 on the list.
Right here. Aldous Huxley's Brave New World. This one, after I finished reading it, I wasn't so impressed with it. I kind of was like, well, what was that all about? But my mind comes back to this book more than almost anything I've ever read. And just with things I see in real life, about just media and television. I'll go more into that later because this comes up on another one, but this still holds up very much to today. This one was written in 1930, so a little bit later than the other ones.
Yeah, don't put it away because your next section here is the most impactful reads. And the first one you have is Brave New World.
And so media in this book or in this culture has completely come to pander to sexuality and violence. It talks about going to the movies, and it's all just completely explicit sex and killing. And the people love it. They laugh and they cheer. And there is a character called the Savage that comes from an outside culture that's very conservative, based in ancient Christianity. And he is just completely disgusted by what he sees when this character tries to take him to their entertainment of what's fun. And everyone carries around drugs to make them feel happy, to boost their mood when they feel any kind of sense of anger or sadness. And I think that correlates very much to, at least today in America, where it's like 40% of the population is on some kind of anti-anxiety or antidepressant. So very much correlates to things you see in today's society, unfortunately.
Well, and so much of our media is based around violence.
Very much
sex.
panders to sex and violence. Yeah.
Roadside Picnic, 87 on the list.
I haven't wrapped this one up yet, but this one was so unsettling. This was such an unsettling story by the time you finished it. This is about... I'm going to have to edit this.
It's okay.
This is about an Earth where aliens didn't invade. They didn't even make contact. They just kind of left about 7 spots all over the planet where just kind of their stuff was just left. And it's dangerous. Some of it's poisonous. Most of it, we don't know what it does. But this focuses around someone that's known as a stalker, which is a specialist in going into what they call the zone. This focuses around a character that's known as a stalker, which is a specialist on going into these zones and either showing off tourists or recovering artifacts to sell to scientists or to the black market. And so I'll go over more of that in my wrap-up this month.
The Handmaid's Tale, number 60.
This is a story about religious conservatives violently taking over the country. And it's in a small community or town.
It wasn't violently.
They assassinated the president and they murdered the Congress.
But it was slow social changes at first.
It was...
Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. We've both read this one. I took it as more of there was a shocking event of the president being murdered, a large portion of the government being murdered, and then those that took power just being like, oh, calm down, we'll take care of it, just do this right now. And it turns into just a very, very oppressive culture of those in power having all the power and then dictating how everyone else under them needed to live their lives in the role that they need to fulfill. And some of those roles are extremely uncomfortable and disgusting.
See, it's interesting because Amy and I, reading that, I think got a different take out of it. Because we saw it from the position of a woman. And one of the very first social changes was that a woman can no longer have access to her own bank account or her own money. And the main character's husband was like, you don't have to worry about it. Like, obviously this is awful, but of course I'll take care of you.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, just little changes like that escalate and escalate and escalate.
Those parts did take slow. They were slow changes that, you're just told, oh, just don't worry about it. It's just for right now.
Yeah. Okay, Slaughterhouse-Five, number 23 on the list.
This is by Kurt Vonnegut. This is pretty much hailed as his best work. And this is a story about Billy Pilgrim, who is displaced in time, and so he flows back and forth just through different moments of his life. He's relived his birth multiple times. He's relived his death multiple times. And it is actually was almost comforting for someone like me who's kind of in their quarter life time, where you start to really become more mentally aware of your own mortality and actually having a bit of fear involving that. And so reading this was actually kind of comforting, because death comes, so it goes, as they say.